Good evening, everyone, joining us from the comfort of your own home. My name is Iviwe Hwai, and I'll be your facilitator tonight. I am representing the BMF Gauteng Women Empowerment Desk. I also sit on the BMF National Women Empowerment Desk. So we had plans for the desk at the beginning of the year, but a global pandemic happened. So we had to stop, pause, and go back to the drawing board. This is one intervention that we had for our members. The masterclass is the first of its kind in the BMF since I've been here. So today we are going to offer you our adapted plan for the Women Empowerment Desk. We have Coach Vumile and Coach Boniswa, who will be touching on different topics that help us to master our person, that help us to master ourselves, and also to better equip ourselves with what's happening. How the masterclass came about is that we thought that a lot is happening, people are panicked, there's a lot happening, and they don't know how to move forward. While this masterclass won't be focusing on coronavirus, because we believe there's a lot of content out there about coronavirus, this masterclass will be then giving you tools to properly respond to the rest of the year. So we want today, we're bringing you strategies to realign, to reboot, to reset, so that you can better equip yourself for the remaining of the year. I don't think it's good enough that we say that our vision boards didn't work. So the two coaches are going to come here and help us on how to then better equip ourselves for the rest of the year. While we're saying the new normal, I think we should stop saying new normal. The normal is here now. So what do we do? The coaches will help us. We have different themes. We'll be talking about from being bullied at work, because we know that we show up at work and still being bullied, and that cripples our delivery at work. We know that sometimes we give our all, we are fully present. However, we're still overlooked when it comes to promotion. It is said that public speaking is one of the most feared things in the world. We will be touching on that. I think we'll also be touching on some relationships, right, Coach? We'll also be touching on love relationships on this masterclass. So I'm thoroughly excited for that. So the type of party that we have tonight is a party that you need a pen and paper. Yes, it is that type of party. So I'd like you to have a pen and paper. It's gonna be a working masterclass. So I need you to show up for yourself, and I need you to show up for yourself fully, so that the coaches can then, so that you can learn more from this thing. So just rules of engagement. If you want to ask questions, please drop them on the chat. The coaches will be on the lookout for them. A friend of mine says we're being baptized into 4IR. So when that baptism happens, we have a towel. So we will post a link on the chat box, then we'll move over to another room. So if we get cut here, just please be on the lookout on the chat. We'll post a link so that we move over to another platform. We ask you that you bear with us and you be patient with us. These things are still new under the new normal, or the normal. So again, we have Coach Vumi. Coach Vumi is a career coach, and we have Boniswa Dladla. Boniswa Dladla is a transformational coach. I've been privileged to encounter their work, and I'm thoroughly excited that many people will then hear the gospel that they have to offer. I think they're coming with, they're going to drop bombs today. So be prepared, be fully present, show up for yourself. So I'm not going to waste any time. If there are any questions, please post them on the chat. Yeah, so Coach Vumi, over to you.
Hi, guys. Hi, thank you so much, Iviwe, for having me, and Coach Boni. I am so excited to be here with everybody, so I'm not going to waste any time either. Someone, if you can assist me, please, with regards to my slides, if you can give me access to that, thank you so much. So as mentioned, my name is Vumile Msweli. I'm a career coach, and my partner in crime is Coach Boniswa Dladla. So we are literally sharing with you what we like to call the mid-year reset masterclass. As mentioned, there are a number of topics we are going to be covering. I will kick off the first two, which is becoming bully-proof, and also follow that up with mastering the art of public speaking, a few tips and tricks that you can start instituting immediately. So just so we're clear, I became a coach because I was frustrated in seeing how many people cry, and also being the kind of person who was crying in corporate and being frustrated. And I thought, how do I transform my career into something that gives me joy and happiness? I think we hear a lot when people say, help, I hate my job, to what do we do to make sure that people are thriving and loving what it is that they actually do. Coach Bonnie, do you have any words before I kick off?
Hi, guys. I'm thoroughly excited to be here. My background is engineering, and having worked in a highly male-dominated environment, for me, my why of moving into coaching is so that I, one, wanted to create a reality I could enjoy being in. But through that, when we empower ourselves, we get the gift of being able to empower others. So I'm looking forward to enjoying this session with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Oh, I forgot to mention. So my background is in the financial and services industry. Basically, banks predominantly. I studied accounting. Have worked everywhere on the African continent as well as in Europe. So with that said, let's kick off. Topic number one, becoming bully-proof. So let's unpack that for a little bit. Why and when do you know I am being bullied? So the first indicator is an inability to speak for yourself. So the moment you stop considering what is it that you can say, your voice literally, you feel that lump in your throat, you feel that anxiety in your tummy, and you don't know what to do because you are being ruled by fear, you are most likely being bullied at work. You find every single day before the normal, when we used to go into the offices, you would actually be overcome by anxiety the moment it is carte blanche on Sunday night, at the thought of even going into the office on Monday. So this is when you know I'm actually being bullied. When all of a sudden people who know you will not recognize you at work because you cannot be your normal self. You are not at a heart rate that is resting. You're constantly thinking, what will happen if he or she sends that mail? If you literally feel the anxiety in your tummy when you pass the corner and you see them in the cafeteria. You feel that anxiety when a WhatsApp pops up and it's got this person's name from your workplace. Where that person has the ability and the power that you've given to them to make you feel small, to make you feel like you are not good enough, then you're most likely being bullied. So these are some key indicators in seeing whether or not you are actually being bullied. Let's unpack a bit more. So there are three types of these indicators. The first is insecurity. That is the feeling of I am not good enough. Is the work that I'm doing matter? Am I being heard? Am I being seen? That is the first indicator. The second indicator is looking for public or external validation outside of yourself. So if you're not okay until members of your team or your particular bully doesn't cause discord within you because you're looking for them to say everything is okay, then you feel fine on the inside. Seeking that public validation that I will be good enough when so-and-so says this. That's when we know psychologically we've handed over our power to somebody else and they're occupying a very big chunk of our focus of our day. The third is when you're dealing with a narcissist. I know it's a term we like to throw around quite a bit, but a narcissist is a very, very specific issue. And the challenge with dealing with a narcissist is that somebody who has an inflated sense of self. So everything is about them. If it's not about them, they remove the power from other people. So they've got a beautiful way of using what I like to call garnishing you almost, where they study for a little bit, they affirm you, they make you feel like you are the golden child. You are the best thing that's ever happened to this organization. And boom, all of a sudden it starts to change. Now you're not good enough. Now you feel like you're not smart. Nothing you do will ever please them. And they keep on making you chase that validation almost like it is a high. So that is when you're dealing with a narcissist, where everything that happens is a reflection on them. That is a narcissist. And remember that it is a mental disorder. It's a personality disorder. So not everyone who's like, oh, I think I'm selfish is a narcissist. A narcissist really, really is a master of psychology and manipulation, and can really, really transform how you engage. And you'll know that you are most likely dealing with a narcissist if you were to take a quick review as to what you think about mentally. And when you take that check, you realize actually the majority of your time is thinking about them. So that's when you're usually dealing with a narcissist. You can't be yourself. You're constantly arriving as the person you think will best suit them. So that is a narcissist. So those are 3 indicators: insecurity, seeking public validation, or dealing with a narcissistic boss. Those 3, usually if all 3 are there, you're definitely being bullied. 2 out of 3 is also most definitely an indicator that you're most likely being bullied at work. Okay. So let's unpack specifically our bullies and our narcissists. There are 3 things that you know are driving. And these are the feelings and the emotions you will have when dealing with them. The first is fear. Because remember, out of every single engagement and action, there are 2 things that drive us. It's basically an evolution of one of these 2 things: love or fear. So if fear is what's driving, you'll notice that anxiety. You will notice that everything is about hiding, making themselves bigger than they really are, because they're actually afraid of being seen as how weak they are. The second tool they like to use a lot is shame. Really? You didn't finish? You went to sleep? Didn't you know that report was due? Aren't you ashamed? You're only arriving at the office at 8. I've been here since 6. So using public humiliation is usually what they like to weaponize quite a bit. They are masters at shaming you. And you feel shame because everyone almost recoils in the meeting and leaves you to be observed, and you can feel that embarrassment and that shame. The third is guilt. Guilt is, I should have done it, but I didn't. So it's a very low vibration feeling. It's feeling like you betrayed someone, but when you think about it, it wasn't you who you betrayed. So these are some tools and weapons that are used by bullies. So always be able to identify what emotion is your bully invoking. Is it fear? Is it shame? Or is it guilt? Identify what that feeling that they're trying to invoke, and you identify what drives your bully. When you know what drives your bully, we then know how to start responding. So let's unpack the psychological impact. There is a fear of speaking up. You are afraid of telling them how you actually feel. So you actually relinquish your voice. The second is the public humiliation of others and self. So the way you feel so guilty when you're like, oh, thank goodness they're not coming after me, as someone else is being humiliated, or when it's us, how bad we feel. The third is a lot of us become withdrawn. We literally collapse inside of ourselves, feeling that we actually cannot speak up. We cannot be who we authentically are. The biggest thing that starts to happen is our self-confidence is reduced. Things we used to take for granted, that we used to be very confident in executing and doing, all of a sudden you're like, can I? You used to be brilliant at accounting, but now you start thinking, can I really do it? Maybe it was just luck. The third is, the next one is blame. In a pursuit to protect ourselves, we actually start blaming ourselves as to why we are being treated like this. Because it makes no sense, we want to take accountability and responsibility, and we start thinking, oh, it must be me. I must have done something to invoke this kind of behavior from my narcissist or my bully. And there's guilt. Remember I said that they actually they almost fish for you. They groom you. So psychologically, you actually start to feel guilty because you were groomed to start taking on that blame. Like, I must have done something. Remember, this is a cycle of abuse. In the same way, we've seen many a woman who will defend their abuser. The same thing happens even with a bully at times. Then we also see, excuse me, Excuse me. Then we start identifying our need for validation. What can I do to make sure they choose me and think I'm okay? That's also times to avoid the public humiliation. So what happens is we, in essence, in the cycle of dealing with a bully, we relinquish our power in our psychological headspace, and we make them seem demigods. We give them a demigod status. We make them seem all powerful. So I've touched on a number of things, right? So this is, of course, I think we do over a month-long period. So I've touched on a number of things, but there's one solution I would like to really, really work on with you today. And that is avoiding the fear of speaking up. So a lot of us talk about, mastering the art of public speaking, but in public speaking, it's just voicing yourself. I like to say, in essence, public speaking is a conversation between two people that others are privy to. So how can we use some of the public speaking skills to start standing up to our bullies? So let's unpack what I mean by public speaking. So as a person in corporate, as a young person in corporate, there are going to be three forms of public speaking that will occur. The first is a meeting. So we all know our meetings with our bosses. Most of them are happening on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets at the moment. The second is a prepared speech. This is also what you're probably doing if you are being bullied. You prepare what you're going to say. So I'm going to say this, then they say that, then I reply with this. So prepared speeches, but it's also more commonly, it's also ceremonious speeches. But what do I mean by ceremonious speeches? I'm referring to speeches like it's your best friend's wedding and you are asked to speak on behalf of friends. And last and definitely not least, where a lot of people have their fear is impromptu. So this is a speech that you didn't see coming, but all of a sudden you now have to speak up for yourself. So the first thing I want us just to be clear about is there is a simple structure when we talk about speaking. There's what happens before the actual conversation. It's what happens straight after you decide you're about to speak. So it's the prior, the speaking. Then there's the opening, which I like to say is the can we please talk, right? Then it's the main points. It's the meat of what it is that you're trying to say. What is it that you're trying to ensure that people feel the impact of your conversation? Then usually there's a question and answer session, and then we close the conversation. So this is a structure. Remember, it is fluid. So from opening straight to question and answer, straight to main points. But in looking at the structure, now you know, okay? So there's something I can do before the conversation. So there's preparation that can occur before you actually start engaging in the speech. So step one, do not panic. Do not panic. I want you to remember that in looking, excuse me, in looking at public speaking, glossophobia is the second biggest fear common to man, second only to death. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. So you are not alone in being afraid. So how do you start countering this? Preparation, preparation, preparation. That is the first P in public speaking. So how do you start countering it? Is number one, understand who is your audience. If you know who your audience is, you know how to speak to them. You need to understand what is important to them. What language resonates with them? Can you connect? Remember I said to you that public speaking in essence is a conversation happening between two people that the rest of us are privy to. That's exactly what's happening now. I'm speaking to you. Everyone else is just listening in. That is public speaking. So I don't want you to think about all the colleagues who are in the meeting or all the thousands of people watching you speak. Have that conversation with that other person. Prepare well for it. What is important to them? The second is, how do you want to make them feel? I think Maya Angelou said it brilliantly. Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said. They will forget what it is that you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So what do you want your audience to feel? If it is your narcissistic boss, you want them to feel that you're powerful and you're smart and you're not to be messed with. If it is a friend's wedding, you're wanting them to feel what an amazing soul you're talking about. If it's a case of a masterclass, I want them to feel that whatever it is that we discuss, they're empowered to take on the mantle and shift their thinking and way of engagement. The third thing is, what must they leave knowing? So what couple of points? Because remember, right now in the world we find ourselves, I think if you said it so well, that we baptized into 4IR, we are now competing for attention. So people's minds are bombarded with information. So what do you want them to leave knowing? So what is the call to action? What must they remember when they wake up tomorrow morning? Those are the things you need to be able to articulate as you prepare for a speech. Who is your audience? What's important to them? Why what you say is valuable to them? You must answer. What do you want to make them feel? Because they're going to forget what you did, but they're not going to forget how you make them feel. And last but not least, what must they leave knowing? What must they be confident to have as a call to action? So let's talk about before presentation, right? Because we spoke about, oh gosh, the anxiety of it all. I don't even know where to start. Monkey brain is what I call it. So what tends to happen is when we are in panic mode, our bodies don't know the difference between a lion, like right in your face roaring, and the stress we feel when a narcissistic boss comes in, or when we've got to step up in front of people and speak. Our bodies don't know the difference. Physiologically, we're unpacking the exact same experience. So what happens is, obviously, all the blood drains from our head into the rest of our body. And why that is our body needs to get ready to either fight, so we're going to take this challenge on, flight, run away as quick as we can, so we need that energy to run, or freeze, be as still as possible. But before when all of this is happening, the blood is not getting brain, so the brain is not getting blood. Meaning our frontal cortex isn't getting the kind of oxygen it needs to calm down, to be able to think or speak. And I don't know if any of this has ever happened to any of you, where you're literally about to say something, you get a bit nervous and you blank out. That's because the blood's gone from the frontal cortex, where we process information, to the rest of our body. So to counter this monkey brain, I would like you to do this exercise with me, and I think we'll try it right now, okay? And it's called breathing. It's about being in our body. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for 4 through our nose. We are going to hold it for 6 counts. Then we'll breathe out through our mouth for 8 counts. So we're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 counts. Hold the breath in our bodies for 6 counts. Then breathe out through our mouths for 8 counts. So let's get into our bodies nice and comfortable, nice and relaxed. You can close your eyes if you want to. And let's breathe in. Go. Deep breath in. And hold. Out through your mouth. If you're anything like me, you're like, can't breathe anymore. So what you want to do, that's all the ugly oxygen that's been sitting at the bottom of our lungs. We're going to do that exercise again, so get nice and comfortable. Close our eyes. We're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 6, and out through our nose for 8. Let's breathe in. Hold. Out through our mouths. Deep breath in. Hold. Out through your mouth. Last one. Deep breath in. Hold. And out through your mouth. So what will tend to happen is you'll notice you're feeling a lot more calmer, almost zen. Sometimes we even feel like a little bit sleepy after that. Just by doing that exercise, we are able to calm down and center ourselves. So even when our monkey brain is going crazy about the anxiety of either meeting that narcissistic boss or having to face the fear of public speaking, we are able to calm and center ourselves. So those are the two tidbits that I'd like to share. I'm now going to hand you over to my very, very favorite coach and very capable business partner, Shiboni Dladla.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. I was saying thank you, Coach Vu. I could relax with the breathing exercise that you've just given us. So guys, I'm going to take you through the last two themes. And the theme is looking at how we move from being overlooked to being promoted, or from overlooked to being recognized. But more than that, being also respected for the effort, for the brilliance that we are. So what I have there in the slide is looking at the two ways of looking at things. There is the way we've been conditioned to look at corporate. We even call it climbing the corporate ladder, meaning there's a beginning somewhere at the bottom going all the way up, you know. So when we come from that space where we are looking at things as levels, where we are looking at ourselves as moving through a vertical level landscape, we miss the opportunity of understanding how we serve one another. So in such an environment, it's a shark, it's another shark, you know. We are always competing for something, sometimes even things that we don't even want, we find ourselves competing for, you know, competing with other people who look like us. So what I want to leave with you today, which is something that you can go explore and really find your own niche and your own balance, instead of looking at things from that ego perspective of levels, looking at it as an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, we are all serving one another. For example, in nature, we learn that the grass feeds the cow feeds the human, or leopards. But beyond that, there's also the lion that eats the cow. But eventually, also the lion will be somewhere in the ground eaten by the ants. Back to the cycle. So in the eco part of how we show up at work, how can we serve other people, and how can we allow other people to serve us? And this forces us to really look and see our own greatness and see our own talent, but more importantly, be secure within ourselves. Because the moment we're operating from fear, we are not our best self. We are auditioning. And when we are auditioning, we are scared of making mistakes. We're scared of being authentic. So I need you to check, how authentic are you in your interactions? Most of this we cover even more in the media reset bundle. But for today, so that I do not overload you with work, look at how you serve other people. Look at how your ego shows up in terms of your own mindset. And I'm going to cover that a bit. So what can you do? Your biggest element and your biggest part is your mindset. When you look at your mindset, you can move on to the next slide, Monday. When you move on to your mindset awareness, your inner awareness, this becomes your biggest part in terms of how you contribute to your own experience at work. So I'm going to ask you to look at 3 categories. Next slide, please. So when you're looking at your mindset, the biggest thing I would like you to note in your journal, in your writing pad right now, who are you? And I'm pausing intentionally because that question is a question that we seldom sit and have truly awareness of what it is in terms of who we are, what we stand for, who raised us. So what I want you to write and note, who raised you in terms of your mentality, in terms of your emotional landscape, in terms of your financial landscape, as well as your spiritual landscape, you know, as well as your physical landscape. Because where we come from determines our own landscape that we become accustomed to. So who are you? Who enters the room when you enter the room? What energy enters the room? What fears, when you enter a boardroom, what fears come up inside of you? And when we look at who raised us, it can help us identify things that we normally would be struggling with. For example, if you were raised and told that you do not speak back to adults when they speak to you, basically you do not have an opinion. But when you get into a corporate space, how well do you articulate your opinion without fighting other people if you are fighting to be heard? Or how well do you articulate your opinion without the fear of actually saying what you think? So that is why it is important to first check, who are you? Where do you come from? Who raised you? So what was instilled inside of you? Because when you have that, you can then decide, guys, how you are creating yourself. And by creating yourself is then choosing the realities that you are wanting to develop. For example, when we grow up, we are taught that stranger danger, strangers are not safe people, because that is to protect us as children, okay? However, when we grow up and go into workspaces, business, career, we meet strangers every day. But if our attitude when we meet them, we are scared of them, forming collaborations, innovative solutions that could actually propel how we show up in our own careers is limited. So when you know your own limitations, it is easier to then start recreating yourself. The third thing I want to drop that is very important to be aware of is your childhood trauma, guys. What traumas are left unprocessed? What traumas have you, I'm going to call it suppressed really to the depths of your soul, that determine how you interact with other people, how you react to certain things? Because all of this, all three categories, I'm going to say contribute to how you see yourself. That will be now this thing that we normally call our self-image, how we see ourselves. And that is in our own head. Next slide, please. So when you have a self-image, it definitely comes from how you were socialized. So what I've just touched on now is really going back and understanding your own socialization and how and why you show up the way you show up, guys. So there is the fundamental beliefs that we have. And in those beliefs, which is what we constantly think about the most. So if we think what Coach Ruth just touched on, that when we work in toxic work environments, our self-confidence can be low. What we thought we were great at, we could start saying we are not good at. And if we say that long enough, we start to believe it. That is what a belief is. It's a thought I keep thinking all the time and saying to myself and believing it, because to me, it is my reality. So in our beliefs, we can see our own blind spots. We can see our own war within ourselves. When we say, no, but that's too much. When we say, no, but that's too soon. When we say, no, I'm not ready. It has been said that actually females, when they look at a job spec, they look at things they don't have versus the 30% that they might have. Whereas with men, they would take the 30% and say, hey, I can do this job, So it's not even what I have, but my belief in what I think I can do. And sometimes it's not even founded, that belief. But we look and make sure that every box is ticked before we say yes. So I need you to just sit with those kind of things because they are personal. This is stuff that would normally come when we really do self-introspection. And when we know what we believe, then we can find the little fox that steals our joy, the inner critic. We can find that self-criticism that we do to ourselves and think other people think about us. And I want you to really be aware of that when you think other people think something about you, it is actually you thinking it and wanting other people to think that. So you are the one who is projecting that. So when we go in and look at all those things, you are able to determine your own self-value or the lack of self-value, and we can start working. And that is why we look into making sure that we collaborate in how you show up personally and also how you show up in your career. Because without the self-value, the external validation becomes something that we are wanting. And if not guarded against that, we could actually find ourselves not being ourselves because we are looking for someone to approve of us. With clear self-reflection, guys, we can move into that space of self-development. I had a question which I wanted to pose, that how many of us, when we start on a journey, we really prepare for the journey? We really look at what we need for the journey, especially when we move into relationships, you know? So when we look at career development and when we look at personal development in terms of our career relationships, our personal relationships, what support or support systems have you put in place for yourself? I'm leaving that question with you. If there is nothing, hey, we are here. It's time to look at that. But if you have put something, where are you on the journey? Where are you in your career planning and knowing where you are going? So now I'm going to move to the topic that is hardly spoken about, especially with high performing individuals, females like us who are wanting to, I'm going to call it, conquer the world, relating in relationships. How many of us, guys, you can drop it in the comments, how many of us are thriving in our personal relationships? How many of us are equipped with our personal relationships in terms of how we relate with our partners, in terms of how we relate with our siblings, how we relate with our kids, how we relate with people at work as well, because sometimes we form personal relationships. So when you look at this picture, it's one of those that make me laugh, because when you look at the gentleman, he is holding out his hand so that the lady can actually, you know, hold on to him, because that's what society has taught that person. However, the lady is saying, hey, I am awesome. I am taking care of myself. I am amazing. So I'm not holding on to your hand. I can stand on my own 2 feet. So how we relate and how we show up to other people, it is very, very important that we are equipped to thrive in our personal relationships. Next slide, please. So do this for me and for yourself, which is important to check your relationship growth. Who enters your relationships? Be it you are in a committed partnership, be it it's a new exploring relationship. Who is the woman who enters that relationship? What is she wanting to achieve? What are the hidden agendas that she has? What are the fears that are unspoken that finally at some point find a way to surface? Who enters the relationship? This is the most important thing. What trauma is she saying she wants to protect herself from? What pain is she hiding from and wanting someone else to help her heal from? This is us going in and saying, really, I'm a collection and a collective of my own experiences. How much of that do I continuously carry to the next and the next without really sitting with it and opening myself up to understand me with these experiences? You know, they say no one can get, you know, a new fresh start, but we can all get a new fresh ending. Meaning, even no matter what has happened to us, we can recreate ourselves from where we are. So when we move from understanding that, if we are being honest, then we can determine who gets wounded. When we start and saying I'm hurt, when we start and saying I'm not happy, what exactly do we mean? What is the wound? I call it the pain body. The pain body is that thing that comes up to get hurt, is that thing that comes up to get wounded, is that thing that feels not content, not satisfied, not happy. Whatever that thing is, or whatever that part of you is, I need you to really check and understand who is that. And that's why I have that waterfall. That water is life, but when water falls, in terms of the force it can have, it can actually kill us. So those things that are not processed really have a greater impact in terms of who we become. So in the stillness, everything looks amazing. You know, we want to just touch it. But the moment it moves, we start to see things that sometimes we are not comfortable with. And that is why doing that work and taking responsibility for that work is one of the most important things we can do. Next slide, please. So I have an inner toolkit to get you started, you know. In that inner toolkit, I love what Coach Vu has just given us now, to bring ourselves back into ourselves. You know, when you allow yourself to breathe, you are allowing yourself to be still within yourself. And that is one of the things you can use. Because when those emotions come, when that pen surfaces, instead of allowing the energy to drag us and move us along to say things we regret, to say things that are toxic, to act in a toxic manner, we can actually allow ourselves to be within and really feel that which we normally fear to feel. And what you see on the top left is the AirPods. You know, we don't want to get into entanglements, guys. We don't want to be entangled. So you need to untangle yourself by being aligned within yourself. That's the easiest way to untangle what is going on inside of you, you know? So have a process, have a routine where you really get time to untangle what is happening inside of you instead of numbing it, running from it, or projecting it and wanting someone else to deal with it. I normally say, because I'm an engineer by profession, without data, you know, I'm just talking news. And sometimes news can be fake news. So when you analyze your own life, what is the data saying? What is the pattern that keeps coming up? What kind of people do you keep attracting? Normally we say, oh, I don't know why I'm attracting these people. I don't know why these people are in my life. But the truth is we are the ones who are saying yes to those people. So understanding your own data in terms of your own personal experiences is important. For example, understanding why you have backstabbing friends, if you have backstabbing friends, understanding why you have tension with colleagues. Those are things, guys, that there's no class for. There's no grade. You know how we go to university and we study a certain course? Those are things that become the school of life, and we need to really learn to go dig deep into them. And the last toolkit is, how are you supporting yourself? I love that mini boat where you are just sitting. It's clear where you are, but you are supported. You are still in the water, but you are supported. So it doesn't matter what we go through, as long as we have the support within ourselves that allows us to be able to know where we're going and be having the skills to get there. Next slide, please. So what I normally focus on, guys, is who we show up as, how we show up as individuals, and our ability to really authentically, truthfully communicate whatever it is that is going on within ourselves. Not because we want other people to take responsibility for it, but because we are here to really show up as our true self. So most of us know that our words is how we speak, you know, but before those words speak, your body language speaks more for you. You know, when you enter a room, when you're not confident, your shoulders, you know, you're slouching. When you're about to speak, your voice tonality is not proper. It's like you're asking for permission. Most of us are asking for permission to speak. But if we work within ourselves, we can, you know, articulate ourselves in a clear manner. We can truly, without offending anyone. That's another thing. There is a fine trade-off between being self-confident and being arrogant. Normally, the two look the same when you're not noticing, but the energy you feel from the two is not the same. The other one is empowering. The other one diminishes the people around the person who's feeling arrogant, because it's about not feeling enough, hence wanting other people to be smaller than you. So check your body language. My friend taught me to dress for the role that I want. So how are you showing up? How do you carry yourself in a way that communicates your needs, in the way that communicates where you're going, both in your career relationships as well as your personal relationships? Because the moment we are sitting back and looking for other people to tick the boxes for us, validate us, we are then giving away the most important thing, which is our personal power. And when I circle the words, if your words are not kind, if your words are not truthful, if your words are not necessary, you know, sometimes something is truthful, but it's not necessary to say right now. It's like the I told you so. A person who you told know that you had, you know, said that thing. So you saying it in that moment is not really the best of times to reflect on that. So make sure that the words you are speaking are building, and they are kind, and they are truthful, and they are really perfect for that moment, so that your communication skills aligns with who you say you are and what you want to do. Next slide, please. So on the last note, I want you to check how you see yourself. If you look at the first pick, it's about full self-acceptance, where what we think about ourselves, what we see in terms of when our self-image in our head comes up, it is who we are. There is no part of us that feels small or that feels big. When you move to the other side where we have low self-esteem, we look at ourselves as small. We make other people big. So when are you doing that and why are you doing that? Note that down so that you understand where you are and how to start fixing that. And also the other part, which is very dangerous, high self-esteem, where we go out, promise the world, but when it's time to deliver, we deliver less than that, which means we have a different sense of who we say we are, and how we behave shows exactly who we are. So are you in full self-acceptance where you are truly, authentically open with yourself, open with your skills, your brilliance, able to articulate it to other people? Or do you make yourself small or make yourself big because of the fearful patterns that are inside of you? So the power to focus and the power to really, really be open allows us to be able to do the work. So inner work doesn't scream. Inner work is a work that we do so that we can be the self that we say we are and develop to be the people that we choose to be. So that is why when we looked at what can we do to make sure that we empower you guys, we normally teach this at a much elaborative scale. And that is, please go to the next slide. And that is what we call our media reset in terms of your life and in terms of your career. So in this, we have a full overlook to promoted masterclass, where we take you from how you are showing up in terms of mindset, in terms of what you need to be recognized, and moving into positioning yourself to being promoted. And then what Coach Vu has touched on, really moving into what do you do when you're being bullied, either by your colleagues as well as by your boss. Also, that thing that we normally don't talk about, our own self-bullying that we do to ourselves when we are the ones who are criticizing ourselves, you know? And as part of that media reset bundle, we are looking to how do we speak in public? I will be honest, guys, I used to be terrified to speak in public until I allowed Coach Vu to really coach me through it to a point where I can stand in a room full of 1,000 people and really deliver what I want because I focus more on what I'm passionate about. And that is to make sure that people's lives transform. And in the last part of the media reset, I focus on your relating in relationships. And the baseline of that masterclass and of that course is looking at that self-made series, how powerful women enter and interact in relationships and what makes those relationships thrive or not to thrive. And it's time we started having that conversation because we are the generation that wants it all. We don't believe that career success means relationship failure. It's not what we came here for. After COVID, we want it all and we want it by fire, by force. Next slide, please. So as a bonus to people who will be engaging in the media reset bundle, we also looked at, okay, there's these people that when they enter a room, most of us want to hide. Those are our narcissistic bosses, you know? So we also developed a 5-step tool kit and guide. How do you deal with those people? How do you come out of that shell of being under the spell of your narcissistic boss? And what we will do as well is go into where we've set up the course to do a live Q&A for those people who've gone through the 4 masterclasses, because this is truly a baseline in terms of starting the work of really working on yourself. Next slide, please. I'm not seeing any question. Coach Vu, if you see any questions on the chat, please let me know.
Okay. I see one. Veronica's asked, does Coach Vu offer public speaking courses? Yes, I do. So the one that we've included is the masterclass. It is the basics. So you can't even go to the next level without completing that. No, Cesar, how do you balance speaking for yourself and asserting yourself with the reality that your boss is still your boss? Ooh, this is a good one. Coach, let's finish letting them know what it is that we're offering, and then let's go straight to the questions.
Awesome. Great. So all of that reset bundle, guys, because it's master classes, which we have done, and we are using that as an entry requirement to doing the next level of work. So when you look at all of what you're getting in terms of what it is worth at 4,000 Rand, but we are offering that at 800 Rands because we understand the landscape we're in, but also it helps to get that work in so that we can start and then get ready for the next level. Because there are levels to everything, guys. Next slide, please. No, I've decided, coach, that a baseline is the most important thing so that we set ourselves up for real progress when we move into the next level. Next slide, and I think that will be my last slide or second last slide. So when we look at our Leadership Accelerator program, guys, it is about, we've done the baseline in terms of getting you ready to deal with the stuff that is coming up. So now, where do you want to go in your career? This is looking at really aligning your personal energy for leadership, because there is the concept of leading self and leading others. Those are totally different dynamics that we all need to be ready for so that we can truly use our personal energy to influence. Some people use force, and I think the age of force is really coming to an end where people are no longer being motivated by fear to perform. We now want to be inspired to perform, you know? So when we look at those two elements, it truly helps us to show up as leaders. When we're moving into perception management, you know where you're supposed to go, other people will say she's ready for that. Other people are in the room to say, this is the person we want there. And normally those conversations happen without us in the room. So in perception management, we truly teach how do you create a perception that this is the person who is always ready. This is the person that we want. So that you know really how to, I'm going to call it connect for purpose, but also connect for growth. Breaking salary barriers. Why do all the hard work without being paid?
Yeah.
Coach Boo will ask.
The reason why a lot of people come to me for coaching, it's how do I start getting paid more? And the reality is this, don't realize that the idea of negotiating salaries is the game. You just don't know how it's played. It's a skill set. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, teach me your ways. I know it's true. And I share some of the secrets that I've worked in my career. In less than a year, I tripled my salary. So it really is a game that you can play and really succeed in.
I know you love making sure people are paid, Coach.
I love money. If you haven't checked out my TED Talk, check it out. Help, I Hate My Job. And there's certain 4 B's I talk about. The fourth and most sacred is badalwa. We must get paid. And I love what Coach Bonnie taught me something else. Before, I used to just say, this is how much I'm getting paid. Now I add an extra 10% for my ancestors who couldn't get paid. So it is our responsibility to make sure we're doing it not just for ourselves and the culture, but also for those who went before us who couldn't earn what we earn.
But remember, guys, you need to know how to do it. You need to look and sound like you are ready for it. And then, guys, the other element to it is the science and the art of the network, so that you are creating relationships that serve you, but also where you serve, you know, so that you are really in the ecosystem. Remember, the ecosystem is where we actually serve and be able to be in our element. Yes. And then the last part of that will be personal relationship mastery. Here, I give you all so that we can truly work on this personal relationship mastery. Who we are, the agenda we have in relationships, and how we show up. Because it's time we dealt with that part. Because when we are looking like we are externally successful, we are normally scared to say, hey, I need help here. And all of us normally seek help when it's too late.
That is true.
And then as a bonus to that, a one-on-one with myself and a one-on-one with career coach, so that we really have a round experience of that leadership accelerating journey. Next slide. So for that program, which is starting on the 30th of July, it is 8,000 Rand. You are looking at a total of 8 sessions. Coach, I wanted to ask you if it's possible to actually say for people who go through the media research that we actually give it a discount to 7,000 Rand.
No, I think we should do that because those people are invested in growing themselves. So definitely.
Awesome. So as a people who are here and who will start with the media research, you have had the code with your discount for the course, which will be at 7,000 Rand. And of course, the office, when we share the details, there'll be a payment plan for those who require a payment plan. Let us know what would work for you. The point is to ensure that we truly get to a space where we are comfortable in our personal life and we are thriving in our careers. Thank you. Questions, please.
Or anyone who wants to ask
how do you balance speaking up for yourself and asserting yourself with the reality that your boss is still your boss and how he or she might view that as a personal attack, especially when you're dealing with a narcissist? That's a very good question. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, every narcissist is slightly different. So how we approach them is a little bit different. So you need to understand the motivation of your narcissist. Remember, we spoke a little bit about, are they driven by fear? Is it guilt? Or is it shame? So knowing those three drivers, you then position your speaking up for yourself according to that fear, right? So you circumvent that fear. Also, in understanding your narcissist, you're able to show up for them. So one of the things you never do with a narcissist, which you should never do with anybody, is try, attack, or correct in public. So it's about building that relationship offline and allowing them to shine. But that's only ever successful if you understand what is it that drives them. So you have to tailor-make your positioning for the drivers of your particular narcissist. Carmen, can you give us a teaser or salary negotiation? I did, Carmen. I told you how I tripled mine. That is a teaser. If you ask the same thing, yeah. I'm not seeing any other questions. If you were any questions on your side, I think we may have lost your team.
There aren't any questions. Thank you, Mukiti, for that. Mukiti says, a very informative session. Thank you. Yes. I think that is that.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, just in case some of you, let me just quickly go to our presentation, just in case. Sorry, there we go. Is it showing? I don't know if it's showing. In case you would in case you would like to connect with us, here are our contacts. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. I am usually a Vumi career coach, and Bonnie is usually a transformational coach. So please feel free to reach out to us. If there are any other things you want to discuss offline, you'll find us available there on our social media.
Coach Vu, there is a question that is coming from where is she now? From Yonela. She's asking, how do you respond when a narcissist boss tells you you need to speak less than her?
You.
Coach Bonnie, do you want to take that one? Yonela, I wish you could give us some insights. So when the narcissist is calling you out, so remember we spoke about the public humiliation. So when they're doing that, in essence, they're humiliating you in public, which means you've triggered them. So and one of the things we unpack a lot on is the triggering internally as well as the triggering of an actual boss. So we need to have a little bit more detail there, Yonela. What was the context? Was it public? Was it a case of public humiliation? Or was it a case of out of the blue they just said that? So what had happened in that frame of reference to instigate that trigger within the boss? If you understand the drivers and the trigger of the boss, you then know how to liaise with the boss. Because remember, all narcissists are narcissists, but they're the same. So what drives them is a little bit different. Coach, do you have anything to add?
Definitely. Oh, yes. I was seeing something like, even here in the comments, like, how can I speak without personally attacking my boss? Guys, the most important, remember what I said to you, personal energy. When you want to speak something, allow your energy first to be clear so that what you are saying and what you are articulating is truly what you want to say without the spices of our anger, our guilt, our wanting to, I'm going to call it, find ourselves dominant, because no one wins when we do that.
Agreed.
Okay.
I
think that is all from the question and answer session. We will share the coach's details for everyone who's registered for this webinar. We'll share the details with you for both Coach Vumi and Coach Boni. So now, I hope, guys, this was electrifying as we wanted it to be. But by the looks of on the comments side, it seems like everyone really did enjoy the session. So now we will close, and to close for us, we'll have Uno Zizwe, who's part of the BMF Gauteng Provincial Committee. Uno Zizwe, thank you, Bonnie, thank you, Vu, and thank you for doing this for free for BMF members. I really, really appreciate you guys.
Listen to loyal member.
All right. Mine is short. It's just to say thank you to our guests, Bumile, Msweli, and Boni Swatlata. Thank you very much for contributing to BMF Empowerment Women Desk. Thank you, Iviwe, for facilitating and being at the forefront of organizing this together with the BMF provincial guys and all the BMF members who were involved in this. To all who have joined, thank you for wonderful contributions that you have made. And we would like to encourage you, if you're not a member, please visit our website and join us so that we can benefit more. And also be on the lookout for the Women Leadership Series that we are planning. So thank you very much, and then enjoy your evening. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.